the pros of waiting until you're age 72 or sometime after you reach full retirement age? Well, of course, you get a bigger monthly paycheck. Size matters, and we all like that, right? But then the consequence is that you're collecting benefits for a shorter period of time. If still you only live to the age 82 to age 85, you're not collecting as many payments over time, right? So it's sort of a, David has another analogy he's going to explain here about a teeter-totter.
Right. Well, it really is kind of a teeter-totter, right? If you take it early, you're going to receive less. If you take it later, you're going to receive more. But really, the idea is that the middle point there is your date of death, right? And really, the estimate is that your date of death really doesn't change. So the total amount you're getting paid out really shouldn't change either. It's just a larger amount for a shorter period of time, or a smaller amount for a longer period of time. In essence, they really should equal out to being the same. No one's getting ahead here.
And therein lies the challenge with all of this retirement planning is we don't know when we're going to die.
Right.
So we want to prepare accordingly.
Right.
So David, what do we need to consider when we're thinking about taking Social Security payments?
Right. I think that there's a number of factors, but probably one of the big ones is to ask yourself the question, will I continue working? We know some folks who absolutely love their careers, love what they're doing, and they want to work potentially until the day they die, right? They absolutely love their jobs, and they find a lot of fulfillment in that. Well, that has an impact as to whether or not you, or how much you get when you start taking your benefits. So for example, if I'm 62 and I absolutely love my job and I'm continuing to work, I can still take my Social Security payment, but although it's a reduced amount, it is then reduced even further because I'm still working, right? But the nice thing is that once I reach full retirement age, then I start getting the full amount. Right. I start to, I'm sorry, I don't start to get the full amount. I start to get the full reduced amount as if I had started taking it at 62. So really kind of what's happening is the IRS and Social Security Administration are saying you're making more money because you're actually getting the Social Security payment in addition to what you're getting from working. So your benefit should be a little bit lower. So for example, I'm 62 and I'm making $100,000 a year and I'm taking my Social Security payment. That amount is going to be considerably the payment I would get would be considerably less than, say, for example, somebody who is 62 is continuing to work, started taking their Social Security payment, but is only making, let's say, $25,000 a year. They would actually receive more because the factor that is used there is how much money you're earning.
Exactly. But then when you reach full retirement age, you're compensated for the difference that you should have gotten in your prepayment, but because you were working, they didn't pay that out as early.
Right, because you no longer have that extra benefit. If you technically you don't have the extra benefit of that you were when you were working in that pre-retirement time frame.
Exactly. So the question is, why would somebody want to do this? Well, there are a number of reasons why somebody might want to do this, but a lot of folks like to get access to their money as soon as possible because they think they can do something better with it, right? There are opportunities that you can invest it in a number of different ways, and you might be able to make that early payment grow. So net, you have much more money down at the end of down the road than you otherwise would if you just waited and let the Social Security Administration hold on to that money.
Right. Another factor is health insurance. It's really important to take into consideration what kind of health insurance you think you will have or you do have when you reach that age of when you can start taking Social Security, right? One of the biggest factors or one of the biggest expenses in retirement is actually healthcare. We know that healthcare gets very expensive for folks who are in their 50s and 60s and older. So the reality is that a lot of folks, while they're working, have employer sponsored to some degree or less. They have employer sponsored health insurance, right? So if you decide to retire early and quit and assume that you're going to be getting your Social Security payment, take into consideration how much you're going to have to pay for health insurance, because literally that can eat up your whole Social Security payment,
and
right? Right. But the other thing is to keep in mind here is even if you decide to delay and not take uh, Social Security until you reach the age of 67 or maybe even 72, because you're working or not working, make sure that you apply for Medicare at the age of 65, because there are penalties, or I don't want to say, there are financial drawbacks to applying after you've reached the age of 65.
Another consideration is, are you eligible to receive payment from somebody else's Social Security? So if you qualify for a benefit as a widow, a widower, an unmarried divorced spouse, or even an unmarried surviving divorced spouse, you may qualify for survivor benefits now and delay taking your benefits until later. This is one of the reasons why we had episode 314 with Aaron Tax from Sage, because now this may open up a lot of people to receive survivor or spousal benefits that they otherwise wouldn't have had access to until the IRS recently made these changes. And you can still receive potentially survivor or spousal benefits if you're an unmarried surviving divorced spouse or an unmarried divorced spouse. Something to keep in mind.
Yeah, we will probably do an episode on that at some point, because that's a very interesting topic, that an unmarried individual may get Social Security benefits from an unmarried divorced individual may get benefits from their divorced spouse.
Exactly. Another consideration is somebody eligible to receive payments from your Social Security? So if you have a loved one at home, say a child who has special needs, or you have a spouse with a disability and they can't work, they may be able to receive payments when you from Social Security when you start receiving Social Security payments. So a spouse or a child may receive a monthly payment of up to 1/2 of your full retirement benefit. So that might be a consideration for why you might want to take payments earlier. If you have somebody that you need to take care of and they would benefit from having increased income themselves.
Right. I think the point here is that it's not just the amount that you're going to get, or the Social Security payment that you're going to get. You may want to take into consideration, you may get benefits in addition because of someone that you're in essence, the Social Security Administration sees as responsible for, or was a partner with you in your earning years.
Exactly.
So another factor is your life expectancy, right? We talked about that teeter totter, and in the middle is your expected date of death and how that really doesn't move. Well, for you as an individual, that doesn't really move because it's dependent on you, right? As an individual, there are a lot of things about us as individuals that determine our life expectancy: the gender we're assigned at birth, our family history, our personal lifestyle, whether we exercise or not, whether we have a healthy diet or not, the other types of behaviors, things like how much we drink, have we or do we continue to use drugs, or are we a smoker, right? All of those kinds of things have an impact on whether or not your life expectancy is near or at what the Social Security Administration expects you to live to.
You also want to take into consideration the health and life expectancy of a partner or spouse that may also benefit from your payments. If they're going to end up living a long time, you might want to consider that. If you might also live a long time, or if you think that you predict that you might die at a slightly younger age and they might continue long after you, you want to maybe factor in what kind of benefits that they might avail themselves to.
And sugar daddy alert here, woo, 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 right? If you are with someone, or you're married to someone who is considerably younger than you, keep in mind during that time period of when you might want to take Social Security, if they are bringing income into the household, it may allow you to delay when you take your Social Security so that you can get a larger amount, right? Remember, think of household income, not just your own income, but your household income. Their income can add to or potentially delay you being having to take Social Security benefits.
Yeah, so flip the script on that sugar daddiness.
Right, exactly. We also want to take into consideration some other sources of income, right? John and I have talked a lot on this podcast about side hustles as a means for you to earn more money during your working years. Well, there are a lot of folks who decide to retire and they continue their side hustle or a part-time job, or they have some sort of business they're entrepreneurial, so they're earning additional money that can carry through into retirement. As well as, do you have real estate investments or retirement benefits that really could add to your portfolio and the amount of money you're paying yourself every month? that could delay or allow you to delay when you take Social Security.
Also, you want to consider if you have an annuity or not. We've talked a lot about annuities lately on this podcast. And just as a reminder, an annuity is an insurance contract that gives the holder or the annuitant, such as yourself, or even your spouse, if you have survivor benefits selected as an option, guaranteed income for life. So if you've already got that guaranteed income, especially if that income is starting before you reach full retirement age, well, you might want to just consider waiting, receiving Social Security payments until you're 67, so you get that larger, fatter paycheck, especially as you reach your older years. If you're between age 62 and full retirement age and already getting sufficient income from various investments, that just no need to start taking those payments earlier. Um, as a reminder, if you want, listen to Career Money episode 298, where we talk about 7 basics that you should know about annuities, and Career Money episode 307, when we talked about how to know if you should buy an annuity.
I think one of the other things to keep in mind here is John mentioned annuities that give you that lifetime guaranteed income, but some folks are actually getting an annuity that covers their gives them a paycheck during that time period between 62 and full retirement, or 62 or full retirement and 72, which basically what they're saying is, I'm going to invest some money into an annuity so that I have a paycheck that replaces my paycheck so that I can wait until 72 to get that larger amount. It isn't necessarily always just about lifetime income. It can be about a defined period of which you get that income.
Exactly. So if you have any more questions about how an annuity can play into that, or any other questions about annuities, or when you should take full retire or take Social Security payments, we highly encourage you to visit our sponsor, Gainbridge, and go to Gainbridge's Education Center. We'll include a link to Gainbridge's Education Center also in the show notes as well.
Right.
That is a lot of numbers, David.
It was. And as you can see, right, there is no perfect magical age as to when you should, or easy way to calculate when you should start taking your Social Security payments. So we encourage you to think about this, think strategically, especially the earlier you can, the better. We want you to retire, and we want you to start taking your Social Security payments in a way that is as most beneficial to you. And remember, you can talk with your accountant about this. So now stay tuned for your Career Money takeaway from this episode. Thank you for listening to another episode of Career Money.
Here's your Career Money takeaway from this episode. The survey that many of you took showed that you're all thinking about retiring, and some of you are thinking about retiring as early as your mid-30s, and many are thinking about retiring abroad. So we encourage you to start thinking of how to piece together your retirement income strategy, including diversified investments from stocks to real estate, small business income, annuities, and Social Security payments, because most folks can't rely on one source of income for their long-term financial security.
Then make sure you listen to next week's episode when we dive into another financial independence topic around how to retire early and still have kids with Court from Modern Family.
Thank you, and have a great week.